Success is the product of daily habits, not just once-in-a-lifetime transformations. That's why systems ultimately will get you a lot farther than those one-time event goals. Your life could change astronomically by this time next year. Hi guys, I'm Emily, the Minimalist Mama, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is goals. Setting goals, sticking to goals, how to make goals that you can actually achieve. So if you're feeling a little hesitant about setting goals because maybe setting goals in the past hasn't worked out so well for you, or like you've set really big goals and been disappointed, or you just haven't been able to reach them because things have been out of your control for whatever reason, then I hope today's video will be really encouraging for you. By the end of this month, about 80% of us will have given up on our New Year's resolutions or not even remember what they were anymore. And that's if we made them at all, because the vast majority of people don't set any goals for the beginning of the year. I don't know if this has ever happened to you too, but when you set goals at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, maybe you look back on those goals and what you want at the end of the year is so different from what you thought you wanted at the beginning. I've also picked like a word of the year, but at the end of the year, I'm not sure if I got it or not, because like, how do you measure whether or not you were brave in the whole last 12 months? It's really vague and hard to measure, to tell if you're really doing it or not doing it. At the same time, I've never wanted to give up on setting goals, because I know I only have one life, and I know there's areas in my life that I want to improve on. There's things that I want to improve for myself, my environment, things that I want to change and get better at. And so for me, goal setting is a way to do that. And I never want to be just a passive receiver of whatever is happening to me in life. I really want to be an active participant in life and be able to push myself forward and be self-motivated. I truly believe we're never stuck in life. We always have options. They may not always be the options that we want or think we want at the time, but I believe that if we look hard enough, we always have some options. And if we can overcome the mental hurdles that we have around those options, then we can get to where we really want to go, and ultimately to a better place in the end. So combining traditional type setting New Year's resolutions with the word of the year and all that I've read about habit change and productivity and all of that, I've created this system that allows me to achieve almost all of my goals every year. And it's flexible, and it only takes about 15 minutes every week to maintain it. Your life could change astronomically by this time next year. So first, there are 3 things that your goal needs to be successful. So number 1, you need to focus on something you can control. If you set a goal for something that's outside of your control, that's just a recipe for frustration, disaster, ultimately failure. If it relies on other people, so like if my goal was to remodel our house, that depends on a lot of other people and not just me. It depends on my husband being on board with that as our goal. It depends on finances being there for that, timing, contractors, all of that. There's a lot that's involved in that kind of a goal. So instead of setting a goal of remodeling my house this year, I could scale that back to doing some improvement project in every room of my house. Or I could set an organizing goal, because I do most of the organizing in our house, so that is something within my control. Number 2 is to focus on something that's specific and ideally measurable. So setting a goal to have more joy in this next year. Well, how are you going to measure that? By the end of the year, how are you going to know if you were more joyful than you were the year before? It's very subjective. So instead of setting a goal that's that vague, maybe your goal could be to do one thing every month that brings you joy. Instead of setting a goal to be healthier, you could set a goal of joining a running club or starting a new exercise plan, or cooking at home 3 times a week. Something along those lines. That's very specific and measurable. Number 3, and this is a big one and it's been a big change for me, is to focus on systems that you can improve, not one-time events. So in the book Atomic Habits, he draws a distinction between systems and goals. And I tend to use the word goals still, even for things that involve systems. I'm working on it, but I will still, and you'll hear me in this video a lot of times, still use the word goals. The reason for separating the idea of a system from a goal that's a one-time event is that success is the product of daily habits, not just once-in-a-lifetime transformations. So a goal could be running a half marathon. A system would be becoming a runner. So when you are working to become a runner, then that means you're going to get running shoes, you're going to maybe follow a training plan or just pick a time in your day and go for a run. You're going to focus on being a runner, which means just running. Whereas with a half marathon goal, you'll be doing all kind of the same stuff because you have to get you'll still need to get your running shoes, you'll still need a training plan, and you'll still need to actually run. But if you're focused on that one-time event goal, then what happens after you achieve it? Or what if something happens, like you break your leg and you end up not being able to do a half marathon? Then you feel like a total failure, even though maybe for 6 months of the year you were running like every day. So if you focus on becoming a runner, then it's less dependent on those one-time events. If you focus on becoming a runner this year, then you're going to do all the same things and you're going to be running, and maybe you'll decide, now that I've been running for 6 months, I'm going to sign up for a half marathon and then do that. But if your ultimate goal is to become a runner, then even after the half marathon is over, that's become part of your identity and you're going to keep running. That's why systems ultimately will get you a lot farther than those one-time event goals. Because I think when we set a goal to do something big, like running a half marathon or decluttering and organizing our entire house, it feels so big, it can be really hard to break it into small enough chunks. We might think we're breaking it down small enough, but it's really not. So if we focus on a system, creating a system, then we can create like the tiniest tweaks every day that ultimately, as we refine those and we create one new habit and then stack on another new habit and another new habit, it will actually last a lot longer and get us a lot farther without burning out. 1% improvements is really what we want to aim for. If you improve by 1% every single day, by the end of the year, you're going to be, however many weeks that is, like better than you were at the beginning. So that's why focusing on our systems and habits is so important, especially when it comes to decluttering. If you focus on organizing and decluttering your whole house at once, although that can be like your ultimate goal, but if you focus on creating systems that help you to get organized and decluttered, you're going to be building those habits to be able to maintain it in the long run. So you're not just decluttering and organizing your closet and then it all goes back into chaos, because every day you're changing the habits to, instead of putting stuff on the floor, to hang it back up. And you're changing your habits around buying, so you're not buying stuff all the time just because it's on sale. So all of those are habits and like small system changes that you can do that ultimately will build up to the ultimate goal of having a decluttered house that will continue to maintain itself. So your commitment to the process determines your progress. Your commitment to taking those small 1% improvements every single day is ultimately what's going to get you progress. James Clear says this in the book: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Because even when you don't reach your goals, you don't run as far as you wanted to in a year, you don't lose all of the weight that you wanted to this year, you don't get your whole house decluttered and organized. If your goal is to build the systems, then you will have made progress because you made small improvements day after day, week after week, month after month. So even if you don't accomplish the ultimate thing, your small and steady progress and those habits that you're building are still paying off. Okay, now I gotta take a drink. So many other things I could say about this, about goals versus systems, 1% improvements and how those compound. And I can talk about those more if you're interested, but I also highly recommend that you read or listen to the audiobook version of Atomic Habits. It was by far my favorite book that I read last year. It instantly became one of my all-time favorite books, so I highly recommend checking that out.